All right, so digital strategy. What we're really talking about here is the beginning of a strategic analysis. Over the next little bit, we'll be discussing this concept of strategic analysis, digital strategy, building strategy, ultimately in the role of marketing, right? So one of the big things that we've seen for years is people say, well, you know, they've got a great business, and the next thing you know, the business goes under, right? And one of the big reasons for that is because business has changed over the years. How you do business has changed. So even though the core needs of businesses have never changed, the core building of successful businesses never changed, the how you interact with people has ultimately changed. And so what it means is that a lot of the traditional marketing methods that we used to use for years and years and years no longer really works. In fact, for years it really never was as effective as what it could have been utilizing alternative methods. But you see things like TV ads and radio ads and print ads and billboards and all that kind of stuff. And we see a lot of that. And we look at this and we say, okay, well, wait a minute. This is some of the stuff that we need to be doing, right? So you get TV ads, right? So to me, TV is a lot like Facebook, okay? You see all this random stuff, and then the next thing you know, here pops up an ad, and you're scrolling through your feed. It's a lot like TV. You're watching a good show, and then all of a sudden an ad pops up. So YouTube, again, YouTube is also a lot like television, right? You can watch shows on YouTube. You see that kind of stuff. Google is more like the Yellow Pages used to be, right? You remember years ago, the Yellow Pages, people would say, go get the phone book, right? Have you ever used a phone book? Yeah? Congrats. Yeah. It's impressive, right? You see younger people these days that have actually, or know what one even looks like, right? My kids just know it's that thing that comes every now and then that Dad throws in the recycle bin, you know? So that's pretty much the extent of it. But Google's a lot like that. It's just a little quicker and easier to find stuff. You know, Facebook is also a lot like billboards. So again, you're driving down the interstate and you see Alexander Chenard is everywhere, right? And so you see these billboards with all that kind of stuff. Facebook's kind of the same thing. You're scrolling through, driving right along in your feed, and all of a sudden this thing pops up. It's this billboard type ad. And so how traditional marketing used to work, we have to look at the digital strategy these days because of the fact that people are spending more and more time online. I read a statistic the other day that said that the average Facebook user spends 58 minutes a day on Facebook, right? 58 minutes. That's huge. So you think about that kind of stuff. People spend more time on Facebook today than they do in their car. One of the challenges with traditional marketing methods like television, you can get a general demographic, right? I know the general different demographic of people that watch Lifetime television. I can get that, right? It's not going to be mostly guys who are interested in guns and cars and those kind of things, right? That's not Lifetime, right? It's the women who are interested in finding out 3,000 different ways to kill their man because, I don't know, it seems like every show I see on Lifetime these days is something about she's the hero and he's evil and she's got to murder him somehow. I don't know. Maybe you guys are watching different TV than me. I try not to watch it too much. But you look at that, but you can get a general demographic, but you can't get specific. Not only can you not get specific, you can't pick and choose who gets to actually see your stuff, right? And not only can you not pick and choose who gets to see your stuff, you have zero control whatsoever over who is actually watching that television during the time your ad plays. I can remember many years ago in one of my businesses, we bought advertising on Fox, right? And so it was a $50,000 contract, right? It was a 12-month advertising contract for $50,000. And the year later, we had zero tangible, verifiable result from it. I could not link it back to not any one customer. I could not link back to those specific ads that we ran for $50,000. Why? I couldn't control it. Had no control over who was seeing the ads. What time, I had minimal control over what time the ads were even being played. Right? Same thing goes for billboards these days. You can't control who drives up and down the interstate. Right? You have no idea. Now, hopefully you're going to get some rush hour traffic, and one of the things that the billboard salespeople will tell you is, well, if it goes on this road, we know 40,000 cars a day or X number of cars a day pass by here. But how do I know those people need my services? What percentage of them need my services? What type of traffic is coming through here? You can't tell me that, right? So when we think about these kinds of things, I mean, you look at the Yellow Pages. We actually got a phone call not long ago for somebody who wanted us to advertise in the phone book. I mean, after I stopped laughing, I was like, really, the phone book? Well, who are you targeting for demographics on this stuff? I mean, my studies are showing that the average phone book user today that actually uses the phone book falls into the low and super low incomes, right? It's not, people that live in high income areas and all that. They just whip out their phone, hit Google, and look for whatever it is that they need, right? So, not sure what you think I sell, sir, but it ain't that, right? So, digital strategy, understanding this concept that today, in today's day and age, if we don't have a digital strategy, we effectively have no strategy. Okay? So we have to ensure that we have this. And so what we have to do when we're looking at digital strategy for the purposes of marketing is we have to begin by completing a strategic analysis. A strategic analysis. Now, sounds really complicated, right? But it's not. What is a strategic analysis? Okay, being specific to locate a particular market, that would be part of it, absolutely. What else?
I would think that you would need to figure out what the basis of the business is and what group of people you want to market to. Okay,
the basis of the business, what group of people you want to market to. Sure. So a strategic analysis is very simply, it's a process that's designed to take a look at the internal and external workings of an organization, the way they are currently, and determine any gaps that need to be filled in those internal and external workings. Now, what do you think I mean by internal and external?
Controllable and non-controllable?
Controllable and non-controllable? Kinda.
Running the business versus the outside marketing side of it and how it gets out to people.
Sure. So external is going to be anything that is external to the actual business itself. External is going to be things like your market. It's going to be target audience, those kind of things. Those people are external to your business. Those are the ones that are external and you want to bring them in, right? External is going to include things like business competitors, right? People often ask, who are your competitors? Matter of fact, I had that question just asked of one of our services asked the other day. Who are your competitors? We don't have any. What do you mean you don't have any? There's zero in our local market. Matter of fact, there might be one that I know of that I could think just in the southeastern United States alone for this particular service that we offer, maybe one. The closest thing that we have to a competitor, the way that they do their business, their average price is 10 to 15 times ours on a monthly basis because of the structural differences in how they do and how we do what we do. And so, but you got to know these kind of things, right? So those are external factors. Your distributors or vendors are going to be external factors, right? Internally, you have more systems and processes. You've got what are you utilizing to attract customers? What are you utilizing to retain customers? What systems and processes do you have in place to deal with this kind of stuff? And then where are the gaps, right? This is why strategic analysis is important. A strategic analysis in marketing, a business that operates without a strategic analysis or a marketing plan is effectively like a contractor trying to build a building without a blueprint. Okay? You don't really know what you're doing. And there's going to be something missed. Right? You ever seen any of those videos on YouTube or anything like that of a building that just happens to fall down? Right? I like to watch this kind of stuff. It's kind of funny, but not funny at the same time, right? And it's somebody made a mistake on something. Matter of fact, one of our clients who is a general contractor was telling me not long ago about a situation that they had many years ago, that they had to come in and were looking at fixing some issues on a building that another contractor had built, right? And so one of the guys, the original contractor was still there on site, but he was being terminated. They were being terminated. The contract was being terminated, and while he was there, a guy actually was driving a bucket truck, one of the scissor lifts or a bucket truck or something. Anyway, he was driving it and actually hit a column, and a third of the building came crumbling down. Yeah, oops. One column did that because the thing was not built correctly in the first place. Yeah, oops. And he said, of course, the ensuing lawsuit and so on and so forth, that contractor's insurance had to pay, and they came in and fixed a bunch of stuff and this, that, and the other. And it's like, dang, he was this close to getting away before he got fired, you know.
Not to mention the boys' scissor lift skills.
Yeah, oops. Yeah. Somebody needs to figure that out. What did you ask him before you hired him to drive that?
You drive a scissor lift.
Yeah, like, geez. I mean, I know a little bit about that kind of stuff, but not enough that I would claim that I'm anything but dangerous with those. I can build a lot of things, but some things I just don't want to mess with, you know. So the key here is a good strategic analysis will give us the hows and the whys. It will give us the wheres. It'll give us the ideas of where we need to move and so on and so forth. So I want to start with understanding the external factors. And under digital strategy, when we look at strategic analysis and external factors, there's really four main areas that we need to focus on. The first is our market. It's our market. Now, what do I mean by market?
Potential customers, people that need your service or product.
Okay. Potential customers, people that need your product or service. Kinda. That actually would be the getting specific into the potential customers is going to be more of the step 2, which we'll get into in just a minute. So the market overall is a broad audience, right? It's going to be the broad audience. So, you know, Pat, when you dealing with, electrical equipment, so on and so forth, in general, what kind of people are you looking for?
Best case scenario, manufacturing.
Okay, so you're going to look for manufacturers, industry, right? Yeah, I mean, you're not looking for a franchise owner of a Cracker Barrel or something like that. I mean, that's not your ideal market, right? So even though those people may have a need, it doesn't necessarily fall within that given area, right? And so broadly speaking, the broadest idea of your market is going to be people that need or deal with electrical issues on a commercial or industrial basis,
Yes.
right? Now, from there, then we break it down into target markets. What is a target market?
More specific.
More specific, absolutely. So again, we're in essence building a funnel here, right? So we want to start out broad. If I can't start out broad, and a lot of times what people immediately want to go to is they want to go to this is my ideal customer. But the problem is sometimes we need to back up a little bit and look at our broad market, because in many cases what we do is we miss out on target markets or the specific ideal customers because we don't take a 30,000 foot overview. We don't look at the big picture of things, right? So if I said the broad market is people that utilize electricity in a commercial or industrial way and they have needs in those particular areas, then I can begin to break that down, right? So a target market then would be the industrial manufacturers, plants, right? Something goes down, it's got to be fixed immediately. It gets costly quick. I can also look at, if I'm selling parts wholesale, in essence, I can also look at who are the people that are buying these things to install them. That's another target market, right? So contractors, electrical contractors. But there's more. Brokers that sell to contractors, because I'm wholesaling. So if I can wholesale to these people that are reselling, right? They may sell it at a higher price. Who else?
People that are doing the same business I'm doing.
Absolutely.
If I'm doing wholesale, I don't mind auctioning or sending their way for a lateral exchange as long as it's profitable.
Other people that sell the same products or services that you sell but may not have it in their inventory and have a need, right?
All day, yeah.
Okay. So these things are called target markets. In other words, the old concept of sales used to be fog a mirror, right? If they can fog a mirror, they're a prospect. So that's not, and it has never been the case. Some people just aren't going to buy from you. No ifs, no ands, no buts.
And they have to have the means to buy it.
They got to have the means to buy it. Yeah. I mean, if you placed an ad that got in front of a bunch of 16-year-old girls, chances are you're not going to sell all that much. You might get in front of a bunch of people because there's a lot of them out there. But chances are you're not going to sell them all that much, right? And this is why we have to go through this particular process, is we have to determine who's the market. If you're dealing with cleaning, for example, whether it's residential, commercial, or post-construction cleaning, right? Well, residential, commercial, and post-construction cleaning, that's 3 different markets, right? How you would approach those people are completely different. Now, that being said, you can identify distinct target markets within each of those 3 categories, right? So if I'm going to do post-construction cleaning, I don't necessarily want to attempt to target construction companies that have staff cleaners. There are some of those out there, by the way. Some of them have their own crews. Okay? Some of them outsource. There's no sense in me targeting people that have their own crews. Right? If I'm targeting residential cleaning, right? Do I really want people that live in a 400 square foot studio apartment? Ideally, not. Why?
Normally they can clean themselves.
And also.
You can do it yourself in 5 minutes.
Not have the means if they're living that way.
Well, they may not have the means. They may very well have the means, but it's not necessarily about the means in that scenario. It's about the capacity to charge,
Yeah.
right? So if I have staff that I'm sending out to do it, could I even charge enough for that service for it to be profitable?
Right.
And if I can't do that, then I don't need to be targeting those people, right? So I might say to myself, I need to target people that own their own home, right? Why own versus rent? Why?
More secure and more pride.
More secure? Pride of ownership? Absolutely. So there's a higher possibility of pride of ownership in ownership versus rental. Now again, and it may be different. So if I'm targeting people that rent, maybe I want to target people that are high income earners that rent, right? I know a lot of surgeons and those kind of things, they make oodles of money, but they don't own their own home because the propensity to have to move is high, right? So it doesn't really make sense for them to purchase a home and having to go through that ordeal and process. Matter of fact, for me, it was one of the reasons why I didn't own for a long time. And I didn't want to have to fool with it. Right? So if I'm going to target people that rent, and I need to have some income qualifications based on that, because income qualifications are also going to tell me, on average, how much time they have to spend at work. More time they spend dealing with work and that kind of stuff means less time they have at home. Right? So if outside of that could be a target market. Outside of that, I'm going to target homeowners, right? But now, do I want to target homeowners in the hood?
Not necessarily. Not to say that they don't need the work, but
We're not being judgmental here. We're looking at it from a business aspect. From a business aspect, why do I not want to target homeowners in the hood?
Most likely can't afford it.
Absolutely. It's again, that's where propensity to pay comes in. May not have anything to do with pride of homeownership. Maybe they do love their home. But if I'm going to have to charge them $400 a week to clean their home, for example, is that income there to be able to offset that? No. So this is why we have to look at target markets. Now, target markets on average are going to have some basic information. Matter of fact, it's one of the challenges that I've had with one of our clients recently, because his entire concept of targeting was not generating the result because it was more limited than what it needed to be. In fact, what he was doing was, let me give a little background. This particular company, they do music lessons, okay? And so it's a school that does teaches music and so on and so forth. And so originally his targeting on his stuff was 23 to 34 years old, female. It was within a 15-mile radius of the school. That was their target. They had children.
You trying to get a date?
You know, well.
What about all that market?
Yeah, and so they had children. He was wondering why his stuff wasn't working, and so on and so forth. And I said, well, wait a minute, what does your children look like that you're teaching? He said, well, they were average. He said, our target is 5 to 14 years old. I said, so 23 to 34, let's just do some basic math here. If you're 34 years old is the age cap that you put on it, and you have a 14-year-old, that means that you were 20 when you had the child, you were 19 when you got pregnant. So in your age cap, you're limiting your upper end of your student range to the possibility of people that had to get pregnant at 19 or younger. Well, that's not really what I meant. I mean, it's what's happening.
Numbers don't lie.
Yeah. I said, look, I'm over the age of 40 and I've got a 1-year-old. Dude, I'm going to be just about ready for Medicare before my child graduates from high school. I'll just throw this out there. It doesn't make me feel any better right this moment while I'm thinking about it. However, yes, process this. But if I limit it, I mean, I have a 19-year-old, I have a 16-year-old, I have a 9-year-old, and I have a 1-year-old. So in fact, 2 of my children, I am well past his age, and 2 of my children fall within that market. And then he says, well, what about all females? Targeting females with children. I mean, I played music in school. I played music all through school. Started in 7th grade, played through college. In fact, after college, I played for my church for the longest time. I'm a musician. Love it. Love playing. Don't get to do it near as much as I'd like to. I would love for my children to get into music. Matter of fact, my 2 oldest had piano lessons for many, many, many years. What do you teach? Well, piano and guitar and drums. So I paid for piano lessons for my children for many, many, many. But I don't fall within your target market. Picture that. Because it's too narrow. Right? I wasn't thinking about it. Now we've kind of expanded that market, and I find it funny because in expanding, correcting his target markets, his results have gone up significantly. So it's a much larger market than what he had before, but the results have gone up significantly. And we had the conversation the other day about adding a whole nother target market. He says, what? I said, grandparents.
Oh yeah, that's a biggie.
Yeah. Because I told him, I said, there's plenty of grandparents out there that would pay for music lessons for their grandchildren because they're not spending the money on the kids anymore, right? Plenty of grandparents would do that, pay for the music lessons for the grandkids. What better gift to give your grandchild than the gift of ability, right? Wow. He said, I never even thought about that. No, you didn't. Right? This is target markets. Now, step 2 is prioritized target market. What do I mean by prioritized target market?
One that's like for me, it would be the end manufacturer. One that's has the potential to give the greatest yield.
Possibly. Prioritized target market. It's very simple. Every business has multiple target markets. If you do not have multiple target markets as a business, it's a danger to your business. You know, any business that's a one-trick pony eventually will run into problems. Okay? So even businesses that only offer one product or one service have the ability to have multiple markets, right? So once we determine those markets, the next step is to begin to prioritize those markets. And as we prioritize those markets, what we have to do is we have to look at several factors. The first factor we actually need to look at is ease of access. Interestingly enough, a lot of people want, the first thing that they want to go for with that is they want to go for profit margin. And profit margin is not the first thing you need to look at, because there are markets out there that may have a higher profit margin than other markets. However, if they're much more difficult to get to, then the cost to acquire becomes much greater, right? Thereby reducing your profit margin.
Or if it takes more hours, like I was making your grocery or whatever.
Absolutely. It could take more time to get to them. It just becomes more difficult to get to. So we have to first look at ease of access. Is it easier to get to this person? Is it easier to get to this business? The second thing that we need to look at then becomes profit margin. Profit margin. And it's kind of interesting because, I mean, in some of our businesses, in some of my businesses, we have profit margins upwards of 80, 85, 90% on average in the business, just for the nature of what it is that we do. And then we have some, I have one in particular, matter of fact, our insurance the insurance brokerage that I have, the average profit margin is 3%. So I look at ease of access. Is it easy to get to? Is it easy to get to people that need insurance? Sure. State of Alabama requires you got to have car insurance. If you don't, then you get tickets and ultimately get your license revoked and so on and so forth. If you own a home, you need homeowners insurance. If you got a mortgage, it's required. So is it easy to get access to? Yes. But what about profit margin? It's very, very small. It's very difficult to actually make an ongoing profit in that particular business, right? And so any little thing that happens can actually kill the profit margin in that particular area. And I get that every now and then. People say, well, I mean, dude, you offer insurance. Why don't you advertise the crazy out of that? Everybody's got to buy it. Even though there's ease of access, step 2 is profit margin. I need to have a profit margin with that's large enough to offset what I would have to spend in order to be able to get those things. And in fact, I find it interesting because one of the marketing strategies that we came up with many years ago with that is I look at ease of access and I look at profit margin. So I need ease of access, but I also need to be able to maintain as much profit margin as possible in there, right? And so I get to looking at years ago. I got to looking at what do other people do in this, and then it hit me. It's like every week in my mailbox I get these letters from different insurance agencies, State Farm and Farmers and Alpha and Allstate and all these places that are like, you know, hey, let us quote your auto, let us quote your home. Now, they're using those. It must work for them. I don't know. I've never done it. So, and I thought, wow, that's kind of interesting. They're generating leads through that, right? And so they're finding that ease of access in that. They're just mass mailing to a bunch of people. Okay, well, how could I get something similar? How can I tap into that and be able to maintain my profit margin in the same way? How about this? How about we modify the company slightly so that the company targets specifically those people that nobody else really wants? So our ease of access right now is that 95% of our business actually comes from other insurance agencies. Right?
Do you do workman's comp?
Yes. 95% of the business comes from other insurance agencies. It's all the stuff they can't do. Lauren actually had the other day a logging trucking company that was paying almost $9,000 a month in auto insurance. $9,000 a month. It's a lot of money, right? And so she actually went out, researched out, found a company that that loves those particular types of companies, right? She was able to drop the premium for them from $9,000 a month to just under $3,000 a month.
Wow.
Yeah, nearly a 70% drop, right?
My other carrier couldn't or wouldn't write me a commercial clause for that box truck.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Lord was able to do it
Absolutely.
at a big price.
So the key is the ease of access is doing all the thing is being able to do all the things that other people can't do, right? Which, by the way, also gives us helps the profit margin. Even though the margin percentage is effectively the same, we tend to, on average, deal with things that are higher premiums, right?
I want to ask one more question, Jay. I know about the different target markets. The only thing I'm thinking in my head, David, is pediatric dentists.
Mm-hmm.
Different target markets. So, in my mind, I'm just thinking families with children. I can't get multiple in my mind.
Pediatric dentists, families with children. Yeah, that's a broad market. I mean, that family with children is a broad market that is broad to that. But if I'm doing digital strategy and looking at a pediatric dentist, what do you think would be one of the big issues that pediatric dentists face with their patients?
A problem?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe kids not liking the dentist.
Kids not liking the dentist? I mean,
Getting paid.
you make it look nice, it's fine. Getting paid, I mean, it's insurance. Everybody has to deal with the same mess. But what would be some problems that might be specific to a pediatric dentist?
I'd have to appeal to the parents.
Well, I mean, one, think about it this way. Every kid gets older, right? So eventually all your patients are going to age out of your practice. So you have to have a consistent flow of new patients because once they get to be 18, you don't get to see them anymore. They have to go to an adult dentist, right? There's a problem, okay? But there's a bigger problem that people don't consider. Everybody that has kids in school wants to bring their kids to the dentist when? That's all dentists. Every family that has kids that are in school wants to bring their kids to the dentist when?
After school?
After school, whenever the kids are out of school. They're on spring break.
Yeah.
They're on Christmas break, right? They want to schedule those 6-month appointments so it falls during the summer and Christmas break. You know, they want this. So whenever everybody's out of school. So what do you think one of the problems that they have is with that?
Scheduling?
Filling up the schedule during school, right? So as a target audience, then I need to be able to split. It's not just families with children. It's families with children that are non-school age, families with children that are school age.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
Right?
In my mind, I was just racking my brain with that one.
Yes. So, matter of fact, the client that I mentioned earlier that said he picked up 5 new clients before we got started on all this, said he picked up 5 new clients yesterday. All of these 5 clients were all 2 years old, just getting teeth.
Well, and the other thing I would think too is education to the people about needing. I've heard people say, "Oh, they got baby teeth are coming out," you know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's going to be some education with that, but that's not a market,
Yeah.
right? That's an internal, not an external. Okay. So when I'm looking at these kind of things, as a matter of fact, he was saying that they got 5 new patients yesterday because of the simple fact that what we did is we made some targeting modifications and specifically targeted parents that had children under 5 years old, right? And because his concern was, hey, school's in, we need to fill up some of these spaces easier, right? You can fill spaces, but fill up the spaces easier with parents that have kids that are not in school.
So they would come during the day when other kids are in school.
Absolutely. And it then also becomes a little easier to schedule the school-age children earlier in the morning or a little later in the afternoon. Even if it's later in the afternoon, that still would be during school time. But that way the child can go to school for most of the day and they only have to check them out early, right? As opposed to not going to school at all for the day. You got a kid that's got an appointment at noon. You know, depending on how long that appointment could take, I mean, you may have to check that kid out at 11 or 10:30 and then bring them back at 2 o'clock, depending on how long the wait is there in the thing. Well, that's kind of useless. You've missed a whole day of school. right? So again, this is how we begin to define target markets. You have to look at the overall aspect. One of the things, if you're an existing business, is look at existing clients. What do they look like, right? But then when we start to prioritize the target market, that's where we have to look at these people and say, okay, well, who's the easiest to access? Who has the highest profit margin? The third is easiest to sell. Who's the easiest to sell? Because what I don't want is, if I'm prioritizing these things, and we have some of these things, by the way, we have some markets that the average sales cycle is 6 months or longer. And then we have some that the average sales cycle is about a week. Well, which one's an easier sell? A week or 6 months? A week. Absolutely. So I may be able to, the 6 months, I may be able to get easy access to them and they may have a decent profit margin. But if it's going to take me forever to make revenue off of it, what does that do to my profitability overall? Takes my profit margin down. So I have to look at that. The fourth thing that I have to look at is scalability. What do I mean by scalability?
Increase or decrease how it's applied to that market, the size.
Absolutely. Which of these markets have the capacity that grow to the largest? Right? So, in other words, if I'm going to target, for example, in my business, pediatric dentists that specialize in special needs children, if I wanted to make that as one of our targets, how large is that potential market going to be across the United States?
Pretty good.
It's very small, actually. Most pediatric dentists do not specialize in special needs children. The vast majority, 99% do not specialize in special needs children. Yeah. There's plenty of pediatric dentists out there. But the one thing I know, I mean, if I think about it, it's easy to get access to those. The profit margin is huge because the ROI for them is easy. Right? They are super easy to sell for us, but it's hard to scale. There's a very limited number of those. I can't expand that. I can't expand that market. Within that market, I effectively have to expand to different markets, right? So that's what we have to look at with that kind of stuff. Okay, I mean, again, ease of access, pediatric dentist. Just go to Google, pediatric dentist, special needs. Google it. You can get easy access to them. And again, specializing in the special needs children, perfect. Profit margin is very high because ROI becomes very easy. Why is ROI very easy?
There's no high expense in marketing to that market. There's nothing as far as effective profit.
Why is my ROI easy why is getting them an ROI easy?
The return on investment, because you don't have a lot, there shouldn't be, unless I'm missing something, a higher investment to be made. Your profit margin should.
I mean, I could sell them whatever I want to sell them. 1,000 a month, 3,000 a month, 10,000 a month, 20,000 a month.
Because of their category.
So limited.
Because of their market is highly specialized. Now, not only is their market highly specialized, their market is also close-knit.
Yeah.
Shay, my wife, her best friend has 2 special needs children. She drives an hour to get their hair cut. Yeah. Because, and as a matter of fact, it's not even a children's barber shop. It's a adult salon, but she happened to find this one lady this one time that she went to get her hair done at that did really well with her children. So every time her kids, because she has 2 autistic children, so every time she has to go get the boy's haircut, she drives an hour one way to get the haircut. Very close knit. So they cater to the needs of their children, and they will use and talk about anyone else who will cater to the needs of their children. Very tight-knit community, right? generating a profit, generating an ROI for the business as far as for what we're concerned, which makes higher profit margins for them, right? But it also makes higher profit margins for us. It's easy to sell them. You need how many new patients would you like per day? That's all I need to know. Right? But scalability becomes an issue. Okay? Because it's a very limited potential client base for us. Right? Scalability for the client is great, but scalability for us, and that's what we have to look at when we're prioritizing target markets. And the final thing is location. Location. You got to know where these people are. You have to know where they are because you have to know where to put the ads. Right? If I'm going to advertise or I'm going to market to someone, I need to market to where they're at. Right? I mean, if I'm doing marketing for a local gun store, chances are I'm probably not going to do it in Money Magazine. Right? I'm not going to target it on those particular areas. Why not?
It's likely not your target market is reading Money Magazine.
Yeah, it could be. They could be. It's possible, but is it likely?
That's the buckshot effect.
Yeah. Again, the difference is that when we're looking for location, what we want to try to do is we want a sniper rifle, right? Not a shotgun. We want to get with utmost precision where we can, right? So that thing will start with some research about the types of our target market, and then look at what websites are catered to them, what social media groups cater to them, what things cater to these people, where do these people spend their time? Because that's where we want to be, right? Prioritized target market. The third thing that we need to look at in external is business competitors. Business competitors. Why do we need to know about business competitors?
How are they doing it?
Okay.
How well,
What they're charging?
how well, and how extensive.
How are they doing it? How well are they doing it?
And what the company offers
Okay.
based on what your company does.
Okay. That's the first thing I want to look at is what makes you unique. What makes you unique? We have a client that is it's not a pawn shop. It's like a We Buy Gold place, right? And so they buy and sell gold, silver, diamonds, and jewelry. Okay. Buy and sell gold, silver, diamonds, and jewelry. And so one of the first questions I asked him is, I mean, dude, pawn shops, We Buy Gold places, these things are stinking everywhere. What makes you different? Right? What makes you unique? He said, well, at first he said he didn't know, and then he got to thinking about it. He said, well, one thing is we focus on educating the customer, not just selling the customer. He said, I really want people that come into my shop, I want to buy from them and I want to sell to them. He said, I want them to look at it as an investor, and I'm facilitating their investments. Not just, hey, grandma had some old jewelry over here, I need to come sell it real quick. He said, I don't want to be a pawn shop. He said, I want to be an investor education center that facilitates the transactions. That's very, very different from what we have in our mindset of a We Buy Gold place, right? He said, the other thing is he said, I will give them the highest price that anybody is paying, and I will charge them the cheapest price that anybody is charging. He said, I don't take the spread as wide as everybody else does. And I said, well, why not? He said, because I don't need to make $1 million off one person. He said, I'm not trying to become rich off one person. He said, and in fact, because if I'm trying to be that person that's teaching them how to buy and sell gold and silver, he said, then they need to feel like they're getting a good deal when they come to me.
Makes them come back.
Makes them come back. Repeat business.
Since
Yeah, repeat business becomes important, and the capacity for referrals absolutely becomes important. And I said, what else? He said, well, I've got one other unique thing that I don't know that anybody else has. So what's that? He said, I have a Bitcoin ATM in my store.
I have a what?
A Bitcoin ATM in my store. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. A lot of people have a general understanding of what Bitcoin is, and notice Mike over here is like, oh, pretty quick, right? You know exactly what the value of that is.
What is it? I don't know.
So Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency. It's basically an online currency, and so a Bitcoin ATM allows you to sell your Bitcoin. So you have a Bitcoin wallet effectively, and the ATM will actually spit out US dollars for the value of what you're selling at that particular point. It's similar to any other ATM, but it specializes in Bitcoin. You can't get Bitcoin at any regular ATM. You can't cash that out. So it allows people to cash out their investment in Bitcoin. I said, that's pretty interesting. He said, yes. He said, because when they come in to use the Bitcoin ATM, he said, I really don't make any money on that transaction. He said, but when they do come in, he said, then I get to have the conversation with them about gold and silver and how it's a more stable investment on average than things like cryptocurrencies. He said, so I get sales from people who are just looking to cash out some Bitcoin. He said, I turn them into customers. That's unique. I could advertise a Bitcoin ATM. That's not something you hear about very often. That's unique, right? And if that gets the flow of traffic to people that have Bitcoin in your area that need some cash, if that gets the traffic in your door and you can convert them, see, I can't sell them for you, but I can get them to you.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
That's unique. That's not something that any other competitor in the area. Matter of fact, I haven't found one even in the state that he's in. He's not in Alabama. But I haven't found one, even in the state that he's in, that has any sort of advertisement saying that they have a Bitcoin ATM. That's unique, right? What makes you different? Second thing I need to find out is what tools are they using? Why? I need to know what tools are they using. Why?
Because it's part of their toolbox to give them the success that they have. It's what they're using to do what they do.
Okay.
Like active campaign or something that will drive digital marketing or monitor it.
Okay. So I need to know, are your competitors on average, are they using email marketing? Are they using Facebook ads? Are they using YouTube ads? Are they using Google ads? What are your competitors doing that are getting them in front of their customer? Right? The other reason why I need to know that is, one, I need to know it because it might give me a good indicator of what tools you should be using. But the second thing is how can I supersede them in this to be able to get the traffic that you are getting? Right? How can I supersede those competitors to be able to effectively steal traffic from them? Did you know it's possible? With YouTube, for example, it's possible to directly target placing ads on my competitors' videos. It's possible to do that. Place an ad right on their video. Boom. Dang.
And you can still do that without being monetized, right?
You can still do that without being monetized. Monetization means nothing. In fact, in my own humble opinion, I feel like YouTube monetization is a useless waste of time and effort. You know, I'm not in it for making $1 or $2 here or there. Making $11 extra a month because 20,000 people saw my videos. It does nothing for me. If I can use the same time and effort that I spend doing that in getting more clients, then whatever. So it's not a big deal. It's not and has never been a big deal to me specifically.
More of a marketing tool instead of an income.
Right. The third thing I need to know is where are their campaigns? So not just what tools are they using, but what locations are they using? Why?
There might be harvestable traffic there for you if you're not using it.
Maybe harvestable traffic. This may also be somebody that has already done the research. They've already done their own research. right? It may also it may also give me an indicator of what kind of results the competitor is getting, and part of my strategy is figuring out how to get better results than a competitor, right? So if that's the case, and I look at, if I'm looking at one of your competitors and they have ads on Snapchat, I'm going to look at that and I'm going to say, this is stupid, right? They're wasting money. Good deal. It's good for you. They're wasting money. Why are they wasting money if they're placing ads on Snapchat? Because, I'm pretty sure that industrial electrical parts buyers, people that run and or own and or control electricity through industrial manufacturing plants, are probably not spending their day on Snapchat. There may be a few of them out there. There might be a few of them out there. However, chances are there aren't that many of them out there, so it kind of goes back to that ease of access and location thing, right? So we need to know this kind of stuff. How successful are they? And we're not just talking about here how much money do they make. Talking about how successful are they with their marketing efforts. How successful are they with what they're doing, right? If I run a report, run an analysis, I want to be able to determine specifically how good are these people doing, because I either need to be able to effectively one-up them or possibly just piggyback. For a lot of companies, growth can happen easily off piggyback. It goes back to my example that I used of the insurance brokerage that I've got, right? The whole concept, the whole success of that business is based on piggybacking off somebody else's marketing efforts. I'm not spending the money that they're spending. They spend way more on a monthly basis than we do in our marketing budget. So we're piggybacking off someone else's marketing budget to be able to generate the revenue. Right? So how successful are they? And of course, the last thing I want to know is who's buying from your competitors. So looking back at that prioritized target market, and the target markets, which of your target markets are buying from your competitors? And how do they fall within the prioritization schema that we came up with?
How can I get that chunk of information?
Realistically, looking at a lot of the where they're distributing, what the ads are, what those things look like, that's a good indicator of who's buying from them. Yeah, who are they targeting to specifically? And that can tell you. And so what you may find, and we've got this, matter of fact, even with our marketing company, we target a lot of things that others don't. Somebody asked about SEO. Can we do it? Yep, sure. We can handle SEO all day long. Do I advertise for SEO? Nope, because everybody else under the blooming sun does.
Yeah, a lot of people build their case on that.
They build the entire case on that. So, and my answer to that is, so you're building your entire argument for the whole reason why people need to do business with you based around utilizing a strategy that you can neither control, because you can't control algorithms. The search engines control algorithms. You can't control it. You can't turn up the flow or down the flow because it's more like rain. It's not like a water hose, right? So it's something you can't control. You can't turn up the volume, so you can't scale it effectively. There's no such thing as scaling SEO. And you can't affect if what you're doing has any effect in the long term or not. It's a spray and pray idea.
Throw it against the wall.
Frogs in a wall, absolutely. Yeah. So, can we do it? Sure. Is it valuable? It's valuable. Is it as valuable as most marketing people tell you it is? Absolutely not. There are so many ways to override that are easier than actually doing the process itself. So, am I going to market it? Nope. I'm going to market alternative strategies, right? All right. The last thing in the external we need to know about is distributors and vendors. Distributors and vendors. Now, this one's very basic, but it is also crucial. Why?
Those are somewhat uncontrollable. No, those are external, of course, but some of the things you can't control.
Okay, so what's the difference between distributors and vendors? By the way, let's start that first.
Vendor provides a service, other distributor does as well.
Yeah, in marketing, distributor is somebody that's getting your stuff out, and a vendor is somebody that's getting stuff to you. So this is more of a product distribution, your product or service distribution channels. This is receiving channels, right? So, but both are very important. Why? Because we need to know who's spreading the word. You know, the funny thing is, a lot of times people discount vendors. We have done lots of business over the years in the various companies that I've got. We've done lots of business over the years with vendors. Matter of fact, we have vendors to this day that actually refer people to us for a variety of reasons because we've built that relationship with the vendors. So remember, the vendors are they have their own markets, right? Their target market and our target market may be two completely different markets. But a lot of times people think with vendors, if they think, well, people selling you cleaning supplies, for example, that's a vendor, right? And so people think, well, somebody selling cleaning supplies, I mean, how is it that they can get anybody to me? Do they have a house?
Their business.
They need theirs done? They need their business done? They know other people who have houses who need their stuff done? And it's kind of like the concept of Restaurant Depot, right? You've ever been to Restaurant Depot? Restaurant Depot. It's like Sam's Club, but specifically for like food and restaurant equipment and stuff. There's one over on Lakeshore, actually. It's like this concept. So they sell, you can go in and buy commercial slicers. You can go in and buy 50-pound bags of potatoes. So they sell to two distinctly different markets, right? One is restaurants. The other is individuals that want to buy larger quantities of things. So if Restaurant Depot is one of my vendors, they have another target market that may line up with one of my target markets, right? So I want to know, who are your vendors? Who are the distributors? Who's getting the word out? And who are you utilizing that could get the word out? We just started doing business with a guy. I've actually known the guy for almost 10 years. And we just started doing business with a guy as a vendor 2 weeks ago. And so he came in, and I had actually messaged him on LinkedIn. It was a happy birthday message, and sent him a message just saying, hey, you know, hadn't talked to you in a while. You know, what's new? And he got to tell me about what's new and this, that, and the other. And I said, come on in and see me. So he came in and we signed up, got him set up as a vendor and this, that, and the other. And, you know, the other day we actually placed quite a bit of business with him just in the first week alone. And so he brings in these cookies from Edgar's Bakery, right? And so, of course, the staff is all excited about these cookies from the bakery and this, that, and the other. And it's exciting. I mean, I don't get as excited about cookies as they do. But, you know, so he brings in this stuff. And so the big question I asked him when he brings stuff in is, say, hey, Bob, what other clients do you have? Who are your other clients? What did I want to know?
What potential
What's
clients could you gain from
Yeah.
these, you know?
And here's the thought process, because I own multiple companies, right? So any standard agencies that you in the insurance, because he's in kind of that insurance world, I wanted to know any of the other standard agencies that we could get as referral resources, right? Now, independent agencies, because we're a brokerage, independent agencies that most often won't send things to us unless it's just a weird thing. So we don't market to them all that much. But what other independent agencies do you have? Why? Because I don't just own an insurance brokerage. I own a marketing company too, right? So which of these guys could we market for? And you say, David, though, if you're doing a lot of marketing for another independent agency and you own a brokerage, wouldn't that be marketing for your competition for them to generate more business? Sure it would. Do I care? No, because the profit margin on the marketing stuff is way higher than the profiting margin on the insurance stuff. Which do I prefer? Higher profit margin or more clients? I want higher profit margin. I would rather have 5 clients with a 60% profit margin than 50 clients with a 3% profit margin.
All day.
All day. Less to deal with, less hassle. Tend to be less needy too. Right? I'm just throwing it out there. Yeah, what's one of the things I found over the years is the people that pay me the most money are usually the ones that are the least needy. And it's those people who, it's those people who pay the least that are the ones that I have to deal with more often than not. And so we don't know. Like I said, distributors and vendors. We need to know these kind of things because, again, what are the possibilities? They may have that location thing figured out. Right? What information can I glean from these people? And so this helps me too with determining what kind of metrics and those kind of things that we have. Does it make sense? All right. So in our strategic analysis, our external, we focus on market, prioritize our target markets, business competitors, distributors and vendors. And next time we're going to talk about internal strategic analysis.